Well, my goodness, let's get started right away. Look, I'm Mr. Incognito. Hold on one second. Let me switch to the other camera, which apparently there we go. That's brighter. That's better. I'm very backlit right now, so the other camera is just not handling it at all. Welcome to the show. It's House Sparks Mornings, Megaworldwide. It's just you and I for the first hour, and then our dear friend Philip Ittner will be joining us, no doubt, to talk about the fact that Pete Hegseth cut off Ukraine aid without telling Trump, apparently, and that Trump, in spite of all of his Putin-loving gibberish over the last half decade or whatever, decade and a half, something like that, is increasingly frustrated, allegedly, with Vladimir Putin because Putin seems to be making a right prick of him all the time by having a big phone call and then immediately after hanging up, doing the biggest strike he can in Ukraine, which is, if it were not involving the death of a lot of innocent people and the destruction of an entire country, it would be hilarious to see Trump kind of having this moment of awareness, moment of clarity, perhaps. I don't know. Hi, chat room. Welcome to the show. Hold on. I got to bring you guys up here. Excellent. And then, where are you? There you are. Hi. Piss on Putin. I completely agree. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. When you work for Trump, you're going to have to accept that you're going to get blamed. Yes. Well, again, we've talked about this strategy before, and it is why Donald Trump constantly says, this person came highly recommended. The reason he says that is so that when they fuck up, because he's given them an impossible task and they are obviously not able to pull it off, when they can't do the impossible, he can blame someone else instead of the fact that he was an idiot and gave them something that was, not going to happen. Now, there is, oh man, let's open up this. Where is it? There's so many of these things. All right. Please don't start playing yet. Excellent. Okay, good. I've been trying to get the autoplay to stop playing on YouTube so that I can show you guys some of the thumbnails around this stuff, and it is rough. Let's see. This is the shows with okay. First thing I want to show you, if I may, right out of the gate, is something we didn't get to look at yesterday, and I have to say that the long form of it is so choice. This is Alex Jones wigging out about the Epstein release. This is him. Check this out. Now, some of you may have seen a little bit where he says he's going to throw up because he is a pudgy, whiny little bitch, I think is the reason. Because, again, I don't know why this would make you throw up. Well, I take it back. Maybe there is a reason. And the reason is it becomes impossible for you to bullshit your followers in light of this new information. So this might give you, the rumblies in his tumblies.
A disaster. I don't know how they got Trump and the DOJ to do.
Well, by the way, hold on one second. Let me see if where is the mic that I'm doing the thing and the do? Is the audio okay? I'm using my headphone mic here, and it may be a little annoying. I apologize. I've got my other little mic on, but it just didn't wake up to it or something, and I don't feel like restarting Ecamm to get to work.
This because the public is not buying it. No one is buying it.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of sycophants. I mean, everybody who's saying, I believe Bongholio and I believe Kash Patel, those people are at least making a valiant, however vain, attempt to either bullshit their public or bullshit themselves, I think.
So I never saw any evidence of Trump involved in any of the stuff that came out. It was all fake. The fake Jane Does, all the crap,
Never saw any evidence. Never did. So that's different from there isn't any to you saw that there wasn't. You never saw any evidence. I think it would be fairly easy, I guess, to avoid looking at any of it. You might hear it exists, but you don't have to go look it up or read it. Okay, lawyer speak from Alex Jones, not surprising.
Eugene Carroll, the crazy leftist cat lady, all of it. So now by coming in and being part of the cover-up, the Trump administration has
almost.
I'm part of it.
They become part of it. I suppose being friends with the guy for a quarter century doesn't make you a part of it.
I mean, it's just you cannot see it any other way. So I just got to the office. I'm gonna go throw up actually. And
I do. This may just be because it's he's on that kind of Ozempic bulimia cycle.
this only happens every few years when something really bad happens
He only throws up every few years when something bad happens, like Trump getting elected or
something. I mean, I'm physically gonna puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now because I have integrity.
Yes, everyone pukes because they have integrity. That's integrity is the leading cause of vomiting in your car.
And you know, I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country, and they're doing so much good.
Says who?
And then for them to do something like this.
Something like this? Everything they do is like this, dipshit.
Tears my guts out.
Literally everything they do is like this. Trump is involved in a crime. He says other people are involved in the crime and has nothing to do with them, or it's non-issue or something like that. And then he tries to distract while they bury it. What issue does he, in all aspects of his governance, is he not doing precisely this? It's indicative of everything he does.
And the left, they're all complicit. They're openly promoting pedophilia.
What? Sorry, no. I want everybody who was a client of Epstein's or hung around him and knew what he was up to go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Fuck you. You're the one who was literally selling Trump to the world, knowing full well the behavior he engaged in.
They're pure evil, and they'll think it's all funny. Oh, look, Alex is sad.
I don't think it's funny that he's sad. I think it's funny that he's pretending to be sad or pretending that this is a surprise. Mr. I can see the 9-degree chess of the pentaverate Illuminati baby brain juice sucking cabal. I can figure out all their moves before they do, and I could link all these myriad of stories, but you couldn't put together that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were best friends for 25 years and really only hooked up about the time Trump was getting tired of Roy Cohn.
The Maga's tearing itself apart. Your globalist masters literally want you to eat bugs and live in a 5G 200 square foot coffin apartment.
Oh, again, I don't think they want us to eat bugs like Papillon. I think you're talking about like cricket protein because it's keratin in the husks or whatever. And that's different from cow tit protein like how? Your globalist masters want you to have whey protein, which comes from cow tits. They want you to be a calf, literally cattle. They want you to do this. They want you to live in a ranch and have to mow the lawn all the time. So you're always distracted by the size of the property. This illusion of freedom on these plots of land where you have these single family dwellings and you have a home all to yourself when they keep you distracted with, busted plumbing and all this other stuff while they take over the earth.
Look at the left. Look at them all posing with their Pfizer shots, looking like dead zombies. I mean, come on, you guys are
looking like dead zombies. Technically, yeah. All zombies are dead or undead, I suppose. That's the question. I mean, you wouldn't be a zombie if you weren't dead first. Dead zombies. Okay.
And so you shouldn't look at those of us that have a soul still and have integrity in pain over this. And so
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the whole have integrity thing. That's still sticking with me a lot. I don't know why he keeps revisiting it as if this is the big sales point of this whole video, is that Alex Jones maintains integrity in face of the fact that he sold Donald Trump to all his supporters, and now he's in on it.
You dumb pieces of fucking shit.
Ouch. Yipes. Watch the salty language there.
You're going against your own self-preservation, serving this evil globalist system of BlackRock and the New World Order and Hakeem Jeffries and all the rest of it.
Sorry, Hakeem Jeffries is suddenly in league with BlackRock? Is it because it's his name, isn't it? It's Hakeem. That sounds scary. That's what it is. Okay.
So I'm just
Stupid. A fat, flatulent git. Um, Steamingly full of shit. Stunningly full of shit. Stunningly full of steaming piles of shit. Um, a rambling dickhead clogging up traffic.
processing this right now. I don't know on what planet Trump is doing all this good stuff in the real world.
Such as, oh, you mean collapsing the dollar and setting up these tariff wars for no fucking reason, and allowing Vladimir Putin to bomb civilian centers, and well, I guess maybe bulldozing Palestine. That'd be one for you, right? That's I suppose he considers that.
And still being demonized by the corporate media. And constant lies like, oh, there was no weather alert for flash floods in Texas by the National Weather Service. There was the day before, and over 500 times. It's just constant lies. I need to defend Trump. He's being lied about.
Yeah, you gotta. He's being lied about, especially around the Epstein thing. Obviously, he released 10 hours of footage. You've watched every frame of it twice. The 1 minute jump in it, the weird anomaly with somebody going up the steps in an orange jumpsuit at 10:40 at night. That clearly would be a perfect window for an inmate while a guard was asleep to leave their cell, go up the stairs, kill Jeffrey Epstein, come back down. They don't show him leaving. That obviously you got to defend it. I mean, I don't. There's no way out for you, Alex, but through.
And then this type of shit happens. I don't even know what to say.
Well, you made a 3-minute video of nothing.
I mean, it's just, it's beyond insane. You couldn't try to hurt yourself worse. You couldn't try to discredit the FBI worse than what they've done.
Try to discredit the FBI? I thought that was the whole purpose. They were going to dismantle the FBI. Weird that they were going to dismantle the FBI as part of this whole get rid of the Epstein, evidence. You don't think that was always a parallel part of the game, dipshit?
All of it. All those videos are saying, yeah, she's seen the videos. It's all coming out. And then now it doesn't exist. I mean, what?
Am I enjoying this too much? I think I might be. Chat room, I think I might be.
What?
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 What? What?
Damn it.
Damn. What?
11 a.m. today, I'll be covering it.
11 a.m. today, I'll be covering it. This is a teaser.
And no matter where this information goes, I'll always report
He had to cut it off at the word truth. How wonderfully poetic, ladies and gentlemen, if I may. Just a glorious response from Alex Jones, sitting in his car. Pathetic. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you how enjoyable it is to watch these the floundering, the flailing. This is what you got? Now, yeah, a couple of days ago, I guess Alex Jones. Alex Jones said that Trump is keeping this information close to the vest so he can blackmail the deep state. A bunch of people apparently who don't give a shit and have already killed somebody, and if they have as much power as they're talking about, I guess wouldn't have a problem dusting off other people. Now, I don't understand. It's apparently it's ladies' night over at Alex Jones's studio too. By the way, check this dude out. Is this Ian Carroll
on Robert Maxwell? Tell people about Robert Maxwell for people that don't know.
Well, Robert Maxwell was Czechoslovakian, and he sort of transferred.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my work. I'm a woman man. No time to talk. What? is it 70s Red Nose Day? Is it Disco Dickhead Day at InfoWars?
From nation to nation through his life because he fought in World War II and he was working intelligence operations for Britain. But eventually he is Jewish. He was born Jewish. And eventually he wound up working for Israel. And he was doing arms smuggling through the 80s, where he seems to have found Jeffrey Epstein somewhere along those lines and seems to have acted as some sort of mentor to him from bringing Epstein out of the banking industry, where he had mysterious banking jobs no one understands, into the arms trafficking with people like Douglas Leese and Adnan Khashoggi, all kind of illegal arms traffickers. And that is where it seems as though Jeffrey Epstein was schooled in what blackmail is and how it works and why it's so effective.
And when he started hanging out with Donald Trump a lot.
And somewhere in the late
who also was a big fan and friend of Roy Cohn, who engaged in the exact same shit. It's so close. They might actually connect. Now, I don't know what time that mustache has to be back at the car wash, but so that it can clean the roofs off of SUVs when it's reattached to the apparatus that they use. But it's anybody's guess. It's interesting how they went from zero to it's the Jews, right? Hold on. And by the way, a bunch of the stuff is, obviously Alex Jones wanting to throw up is making the rounds on all these things. Let me bring up the chat room, if I may, in this guy. And then I have some more stuff that we didn't get to cover, last night. Let's see. John Oates on InfoWars, right? Yeah, it's booger nights at. I'm gonna throw up. You can never pass up an opportunity to blame the Jews, even when dressed like Disco Freddie Mercury. That's right. It's a pretty massive stash. I need a fancy mustache. All right, well, you asked for it. You might get it. Oh God, it's so good. All right, now let me show you something else. Slide over here. Okay. Oh, it's so good. All right, let's see. Where do we start here? All right. So, what's the big update today? All right, let's break this down. And Phil will be joining us in a half an hour to talk about how Pete Hegseth stopped arms shipments to Ukraine for a second time without telling Trump, allegedly. We'll deal with this in a bit. But this is so choice. And it's, remember how yesterday Glenn Beck was upset that, they showed that there's a minute missing of this shot of the cell doors, and you can see the cell doors, and there they are, but there's a minute missing, and that was it. Okay. And I was pointing out that those cell doors that they show were not the doors to Epstein's cell at all. One of them was actually an access door into the cell block where people, janitors came and went and that kind of thing. It's all right. It's so choice. This is this is so choice. All right, here we go. Look at the cup. Look. Oh God, so good. Look at the thumbnail. Not Epstein's cell. Double. Okay, so the image that you're seeing on the right to the left of Dipshit's head right there. Okay, the yellow zone is what that camera could see. The camera that's being shown, that was given out, and this is from the report on Epstein's death in that was released in 2023. It was he was obviously died in 2019. I forget who was president then, and but the report was released, and the only camera that was working in the cell block, that is that little yellow shape right there. Thank you, Jen. That little yellow shape is what you can see of the window of the cell block, which includes the guard station in the corner. And then that little red square, that's Epstein's cell at the top of the stairs, closest to the stairs. Now, many people, because of the angle of the other camera that was photographed later, that they believed that the back right cell in that block was Epstein's cell, and that he was in the far corner. And that's created some wonderful confusion over time as well. But he was not. He was right at the top of the stairs. If you went right up those stairs, you turn right, and there you go. And even though it shows the stairs are within the field of view, it's literally like a single line of pixels that you can see the stairs because of the distance. So you can't make out much of anything. And there's a bunch of stories about how Epstein was allowed, after lockdown, which was at 8:00 p.m., he was allowed to make a phone call at 7 unattended up till 7:40, and then they took him back to his room, and nobody went anywhere from 8 p.m. except guards for the rest of the evening until he was found dead in the morning. Okay. There is, should be of no surprise to anyone, there is a little flash of orange at I want to say like 10 o'clock, 10:40 p.m. You can see somebody in an orange jumpsuit, a prisoner jumpsuit, going up the stairs after more than 2 hours after lockdown, allegedly while the guards may have been asleep. And they're trying to say now that was just a guard carrying laundry up to people at 10:40 at night to drop off more fresh jumpsuits, which is totally believable. And I can't believe that Glenn Beck is questioning the Trump DOJ. But this, and again, are they calling for Bongholio and Kash Patel, who came out and said he hung himself, and that was all? It's all. There's nothing to see here immediately. Like, are you calling for those guys to get fired? No. Just Pam Bondi.
Before, and all my years looking at these things.
Hold on. Let's back this up.
Okay, I want Pam Bondi fired.
Again, can we put this in my file of shit these guys didn't think they would be saying 6 months ago?
I want Pam Bondi fired.
It's escalated quickly.
Yeah, well, no, and here's why. Do you release a tape that is supposed to be the evidence? Do you release a tape and then let the public find out for themselves that there's an edit in the tape?
That's a inexcusable mistake. I don't know that she did it, right? I guess.
And you know what?
Right.
It could have been just a digital jump in the tape. It's a minute lost.
Well, it could be that she also got that footage via the FBI from Kash Patel, and she forwarded it. She didn't do anything with it while it was in her care, allegedly, right? So why the fuck is this guy not yelling for Kash Patel's? Oh, right, he's male. I forgot.
Okay, so let's just give them every benefit of the doubt and say it was just a digital jump in the tape. Okay, do you not put an intern on it just to say watch the clock and make sure there's no jumps or edit in the tape?
Oh, it's worse than that, jackass. According to Pam Bondi, the tape jumps every night at that minute, every single night. Every night at exactly 11:59, there is a minute lost every night. So, and this was well known. So if a guard knew it, then a prisoner could conceivably know it, and anybody could use that minute as their exit plan or their entry plan, one would think. It wasn't even that it was unique to this. According to Pam Bondi, there is a minute missing every night at that point. Yes, Glenn is the new Sherlock Holmes. Schlock Holmes.
Because we know
everyone's going to watch.
300 million people are going to be watching it, and somebody's going to take the time to watch the clock. So watch the clock. Right. Is every minute accounted for?
Oh, it's not the clock that's the problem, by the way. I mean, the clock is definitely a problem. It's the dude in the orange jumpsuit going up the steps at 10:40 p.m. Wait till they lock onto that, because I don't know that Glenn knows that part yet. I haven't watched these things, but I'll show you. That's the thing that's making the rounds this morning, is that at 10:40 p.m. in the video, somebody in an orange jumpsuit walks up the steps, and the story is it wasn't actually a person in an orange jumpsuit. They were carrying stacks of jumpsuits in the middle of the night to take up there, some shit.
You didn't do that. You didn't do that.
I think you could pretty easily say that if you wanted to, right, and your goal was you wanted to edit out a minute, it would be very easy to edit in a minute of footage.
Correct.
That
easy.
No one would notice. Just make the clock continuous,
Correct.
right? It would be clear. If you were trying to cover that, it would be easy to cover.
Yeah.
This
however,
is
incompetence. This is incompetence.
Right. This is the okay. Wait. The current complaint is, they didn't even know how to fabricate evidence correctly. You could have just fabricated a minute and allowed the counter to go on and filled that gap instead of leaving that hole there. And these assholes never would have questioned it.
Relating your point to incompetence. At the very least, if you have a jump,
you admit it. You
say at the beginning,
yes.
there is an error at this point. We know this is there. The fact that you release it as proof without acknowledging that minute is, I just don't understand how you.
Okay. By the way, let me point out real quick. See if I can do this with the. Okay. See this? Okay. So these right there, right here, that's the staircase, right? That little area. You can walk on the inside of the staircase and no one will see you because of this rail right here. This is the guard station where they were missing or fell asleep or what have you at different points. There is an entire wall under here where you could walk by. There is an entire segment over here in the rest of the room where you could move around and no one would see you. And if you came and went along this wall and went in here, you could go up, kill the dude, come back down, leave through this way, come up here, pretend you were emptying garbage cans, whatever it was, and nobody would see you. I mean, just seriously. Yes, exactly, Connie Kelly, because we all know the time to restock, especially prisoner jumpsuits, is in the middle of the night. Yeah, you think Doctor Who stole the minute?
You could make a mistake like that when your goal here is supposedly to put everyone's mind at ease. Right? I don't know. But there's more to it than that.
But
that was the jump. They just showed the jump right there.
Hang on just a sec. Let me just go back before we leave just this one. Remember when I said yesterday, your wife finds receipts for you buying presents at Tiffany's that she never got.
Yeah.
That you were at a hotel that she's never been to. You were not coming home for dinner. You had long weekends and everything else. It doesn't mean you were cheating.
You could be a traveling jewelry investor.
Right. But she should demand the evidence because you don't want that hanging there.
Yes, this is about trust. And since Glenn Beck intends, like this wife in this story that he's telling, to let Trump continue to fuck him, he wants to rebuild the trust
on your relationship. It will just fester. Now you give her the evidence, but then she finds out that, it's the wrong receipt. It was a receipt, that you explained away, but what you used as proof was not the same receipt. You were like, no, see, honey, this is when we went to the hotel together. And she looks at it.
And there's a picture of us, but you've been erased from the picture. Remember when we photoshopped you out of all the pictures and my arm is just dangling there in a shape that looks like I was getting some side action?
And she's like, oh, okay.
Elaine's like, that pretty much means he's cheating, duh, right? You mean Glenn? Ew.
And then she has it for a while, and she looks at it, and she's like, wait a minute, the date is different on this one. This is not the same receipt. That's a problem. That's a problem. And it doesn't mean that he was cheating on you. It just means, what the hell is...
I think it kind of means he was cheating on you. I'm going to go with preponderance of evidence in this situation. Maybe he wasn't cheating. Maybe he murdered someone and is trying to use her as his alibi. but whatever it is, he's up to no good. I think we could just agree shenanigans across the board. And you don't have to shout into the mic, says Dr. Cocainium. Yeah, he kind of does.
Is going on? Are you this stupid?
And it certainly would make you have legitimate questions about the situation.
It just makes you question things more. Now, if it,
and Glenn is not in this to question Trump at all. That goes against his baseline programming, his prime directive. You do not question. And now I've got to ask questions? God damn it.
it wasn't for the jump in the tape, and I'm not even going to call it an edit because I don't think it was an edit. I think it was a jump in the tape.
Yeah, sure. That's so much better. Yeah, because no one could use a predictable jump in a tape as a way of, hiding their movements or go shit.
Is if the jump in the tape wasn't incompetent enough for you. Listen to this one. Jason is here with us. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Glenn. What a morning. Wow.
Mm-hmm. What a morning it is.
What, did you just come straight from a monster truck rally?
Okay, so Jason.
I swear, like he looks like he's been modeling for a character on a Beavis and Butthead episode.
What else have you found?
Okay, so the more and more we looked at this
Please tell me he found the guy at 1040 in the orange jumpsuit who goes up the stairs.
tape, I started looking. It was just weird because it looked like a janitor's closet. So door 46.
Janitor's closet.
And you were like, shut up. This is not a janitor's closet. I don't know what this is. Well, I was like, I can tell you there's a woman that looks like a janitor that comes out of supposedly the person, there's this cell that they're saying is his cell, which they're not, by the way. This was like people on social media were saying this was the cell.
And Glenn
is coming out with a trash can. So I looked around to see if there was any confirmation on what this cell was, and
there was an entire report from the Department of Corrections and
found an OIG report from the Justice Department 2 years ago that shows the camera angle and the one camera that was actually working. So you can see the diagram, and I think we actually have it if you're watching this right now. There's a diagram that shows where this camera is. It shows where Epstein's cell is.
This is so good.
And the big thing that stands out, Glenn, is this camera doesn't even have eyes on Epstein's cell at all. Like, not at all.
Like, if you literally, let's say this camera scanned back and forth like it moved in a spy movie, this is where you would need it to reach so that you could go up the stairs undetected. By the way, you could always just jump up to the platform on the second thing of, where the stairs are and pull yourself up, and you would be completely invisible to the camera. Even if you were like, I'll just sneak around and they'll barely see me.
That's incredible. 4 different wings here. There is a service wing, and that's what we're looking at with that door 46. That's like a service entrance or staff entrance. Now, you can't see on the lower level Epstein cell at all. So this is what makes it look even crazier for that 1 minute that's missing. And I will say that, let me.
This is so, this is so good. This is so, just them waking up to it.
Just say it this way. I've spent years and years and years looking at surveillance and security camera footage.
Well, hey, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but perv alert.
As you know, in my previous job, I've never seen
and his hobbies
an over 1 minute jump right at a time that would be very, very, I don't know, just convenient.
Advantageous is the word I would use.
Never seen that before in all my years looking at these things.
There's no reason. Why do you say that minute would be convenient? You're just saying that 1 minute being gone is convenient. You're not saying that particular minute is convenient. Is important.
In this entire time frame based off of this camera angle. So it's convenient, like, let's say 60 seconds would be great for someone walking across that lower level. 60 seconds would be perfect for if you wanted to conceal the fact that someone walked across that area. That's why it would be convenient.
Here's why I didn't buy into this at first. Okay, 60 seconds to get in and open the door and then kill him and then leave. Okay, but look at the diagram. If you look at the diagram, where
isn't it nice to watch him wake up to this? Because yesterday for some reason he couldn't grasp this until somebody showed him this report from 2023.
Where the camera is, there is maybe a foot space where the camera is not able to see, where there is a door from the staff area. Okay?
Are you looking at, because I think it's hard to tell from this,
It's not hard at all, but Glenn is stupid, so please, Stu, walk him through.
Looking at, is this diagram the top floor or the bottom floor? Jason, do you have any idea?
So it looks like Epstein. So I think Epstein's cell is on the top floor. Yeah. So the stairs would
These
be
are the upper floors, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at where the staff area is. Okay. Mm-hmm. See the yellow triangle?
Yes.
And the red box where it's his cell. Okay. So there is one way out of the staff area, and it's right below the camera.
Like underneath the floor, essentially, of where the camera is.
Yeah, on the floor. If the camera's up on a ceiling, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the camera's the camera is... The camera is
from above,
from
on the
second
ceiling.
Floor, shooting down, and you can the evidence that they're basically proclaiming here, and this is true. What Jason's saying is true, that you can't see the door of the Epstein cell. What you can see is a common area that, in theory, you would need to cross to get to the cell. What you're saying, Glenn, is the camera doesn't actually show 100% of the potential paths to get there,
it
right?
Doesn't.
Like you could if you crossed right in front of the banister here on the bottom floor, there's no way
you're going to see.
Right.
Okay.
All right. I pointed this out yesterday. Like it's so patently obvious. Even if you just glance at the image, anybody who knows that this is on a second floor platform, which is clear because of where the floor is down here, like just your own eyes will tell you this shit. And watching them slow walk themselves into recognizing this is so glorious.
Okay, so wait a minute. So I just want to make sure. We are talking about the same thing.
They haven't even gotten to the mystery man yet. I'll cover that in a second.
Look at the videotape. Mm-hmm. It's the white room downstairs, right? So it's where the garbage can is down there.
Below
so
that.
Epstein's room would be below the garbage can.
No, it's to the right, stupid. Oh my God. What better example will we ever have? And Glenn is, by the way, indicative of the rest of these right-wing lunatics who are trying to cover for this shit. That they just are incapable of grasping even the simplest concepts. And also, up here in the corner, that's that little, control panel that pops up right before it switches time. And he's got a loop playing right now of that minute jump.
Epstein's room, if you look out, if you the area that you can see, and I apologize for radio listeners here that aren't seeing this visual, but I want to make sure we get this right. There's an open area where the banister is and it shows the common area behind it, right?
Okay.
If you go to the right side of the common area from our view, outside of the view to the right is where the entrance to the cell is, the stairs up to the cell.
So all you have to do, you don't have to cross the floor. Why do you have to cross the floor?
You could stay close to that wall.
You can go through the door.
I told you, didn't I? I told you, this is a 10 hours of Bruder film. These assholes are never going to let this go because you can't. It's way more absurd than anything that came out of the Warren Commission. This is just stupid. This is like Warren Commission for dummies. There is no way that MAGA is going to accept this, and they aren't.
You can go through the door and see and just stay against the wall.
Yeah, I guess maybe, and Jason, maybe you know this, maybe it's explained somewhere else in the report, but is it possible that they're saying all the other entrances to get to that area have cameras, and so they didn't see anybody walking into those areas? If that were true, of course you should release them.
Then why wouldn't you show the other?
Right.
This is not proof that anybody did anything.
No.
This is proof they are absent. Pam Bondi needs to be fired.
Oh God. No. well, first of all, I don't know why it's not evidence that Kash Patel doesn't need to be fired. That seems strange to me, but whatever. Now, yeah, when does the Oliver Stone movie come out? There isn't going to be one. Oliver Stone is totally in Trump's camp, by the way. And let me show you something else. Okay, so let me see if there might be on its own let's see, go to here. We'll go straight to YouTube. Mystery Man Epstein tape. That'll probably bring it up. Missing footage. Feds drop bombshell new video. Law and crime. Because I think Boydzilla was the only one I saw. Yeah, wait. Final movements captured on surveillance. That's him at 8 o'clock. Trump party. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll have to go with that one because it's it's amazing. Hold on one second. I want to show you this. Let's see if I can find this in here, and with relative ease. Cover Pucho. So, where is yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is get back here. This is the thing. See if I can find. They talk about.
Hello.
Hello.
Because everyone was locked up, right? Of course, we know now that some of the guards allegedly were either asleep or they deny that and they say they may have dozed off. Either way, what is for sure is that they didn't correctly count the cell at 10:40 p.m. And the question is, who is that person? You can see this at 10:38 p.m. Remember, everyone's supposed to have been in their jail cell for 2.5 hours at this point. No prisoners. You can see a guard goes over to somewhere out of sight. We can't see it. None of the cameras were recording except for this one. And then moments later, we see a little bit of orange near the staircase. Now I'm going to have to zoom into this. It's extremely hard to see.
Please let me see the video. CSL, we have to be on the lookout for this. When this piece of information crosses Glenn Beck's brain pan. Yeah. CoffeeZilla. This is his Boyzilla channel, I guess, or that it was off of. Yeah. You can see it. We can't see. Okay, hold on. See this right here? That's the orange part right there that he's talking about.
Near the staircase. Now I'm going to have to zoom into this. It's extremely hard to see. But you can see a little pixel of...
By the way, just so you know, that is if somebody was walking up the stairs in an orange jumpsuit, that's how much of them you would see if they were just kind of rando walking up the steps. If they were dressed, in a guard's uniform or, I don't know, in white even, you wouldn't see them at all, especially if they just leaned to the right. Wow. Yacarino quits. Nice. She was the one that was defending this stuff, though, which is weird. Yeah, clear as mud. We need to get to the oranges of this. That's right. This is so fucking great. And I cannot wait for this to reach, like the rest of these dudes who are having this panic attack just about the minute missing. Wait till they get to, this whole, like, who the hell was that going up the steps? Now, let's see if they open up this. This would be, ladies and gentlemen, if we could reload that. Show the thumbnail. No, it won't work. Okay. This is This is I've got a couple minutes left before Phil shows up. This is Megyn Kelly reacting further as well.
Something very interesting just happened at the cabinet meeting. We think it was Stephen Nelson of the New York Post, but apologies if we have that wrong, who brought up the Epstein release.
Which, by the way, Trump loves the New York Post.
Seemed to be directing it
or did up till this moment
toward Pam Bondi. You will hear Trump interrupt her to try to entirely change and set the narrative. And then she comes back.
Which makes everyone feel great about it.
Oh, wow. Listen to the following.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the staff?
Yeah, sure. If
Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
I gotta tell you, of all the ham-handed bullshit ways that Donald Trump tries to change the subject, this has to be the worst. Like, he could have just kept his mouth shut and let her answer the question, and that he could have made a pass on it and gone, I don't concern myself with that guy anymore. He jumped in so that she wouldn't have to, trying to keep her from answering the question.
This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things.
We have all these distractions, some natural, some man-made, that I was hoping would bury this stuff, and it's not working. So I will just tell you directly, press person, accept my cover stories and do not talk about the details of stuff I don't want to discuss.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
Damn. Do you want to waste the time? By the way, later on in this, he talked about gold leafing the ceiling of this room. So if you want to talk about wasting time, think about that for a second. In this same cabinet meeting, he brought up whether or not you should gold leaf the boarding around that conference room where they have the cabinet meetings, because you can't find gold paint, right? They've never found paint that looks like gold. First of all, yeah, they fucking have. Like, it doesn't shine like it. You have to put a gloss on top of it. It doesn't do it by itself. But that's just dumb. Of course they have. Look at China. It's everywhere. There's so much fake gold all over the place there. And Trump wouldn't know the difference. He probably went to China and went, wow, you guys gold cover everything. Like, it's just ridiculous. But understand, in the same meetings where, like, you want to waste people's time talking about Jeffrey Epstein, he yammered about how gold is better than gold paint.
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go.
Like a desecration.
Go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention.
Oh, yes, it has.
Because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands.
I buy it. I totally buy it. I know you buy it, and maggots buy it.
The video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing.
This is so good. This is the part. Like, if you want to talk about, like, not only was there a minute missing, there's always a minute missing. And if you knew this, which presumably the Illuminati would know, you could schedule the murder at precisely that when you'd have a window to get your assassin in, and then they don't show him leaving, and they won't say who was in the cell block with him. So that person could have gone into another cell and just hung out until everybody left, I guess.
Definitively, the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's
so their answer is that this was a predictable gap, and that it's always like that. And so they're going to release other footage from those nights that show that minute is always gone. That'll make everybody feel a lot better. I just want to know. I want everybody to know. Respectfully, I feel like that will put this to bed.
That's it on Epstein.
Good grief.
Oh, look. She went straight for I could have had a V8. I could have voted for the woman who, or the guy who didn't hang out with Jeffrey Epstein.
Grief. That was no bueno, guys. That was no bueno. Okay? President Trump had the same problem there that Caroline Leavitt had yesterday. The dodge should not be obvious.
Oh, excellent. Hold on one second. Our dear friend, there he is. I don't see a camera on Phil. There he is. Okay. I'm going to bring Phil in just 1 second. Let me finish up this little
It should be
piece.
subtle. It should be deftly worked in.
So that's Megyn Kelly's take on this, is that they should have been smoother with the lie. Just, you can't go wrong. Okay, hold on. Let me bring in Phil 1 second. And make sure he's in there. There you go. Phil, can you hear me okay? Okay, hold on. Wait, he's in there. Yeah, there you go. I'll bring him in. And excellent. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Philip Ittner joining us. There you are. How are you, good sir?
Yep. Oh, can't ask that question.
Oh, that's sorry. How are you taking?
I have not had a good night's sleep in about a week. I don't think that's unique to me. I think a lot of you. Well, sure. I know it's not unique to me. I've spoken to many Ukrainians who are having the same problem. High pressure environment, lots of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Last night in particular was awful. We got over 740 missiles and drones were shot at us. People living in the subways and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's the getting the runaround from the Trump administration. One day they're blocking Patriot missiles, and the next day they're saying, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing, and it's just the chaos coming from Trump is causing a lot of. I mean, I think a lot of Ukrainians have actually gotten past the realization that America isn't a reliable partner, and that Trump's whims, the lives are going to be lost here, on some stupid whim of the president himself or the incompetence of his staff. So lots of people are like, we're America, we need your help, but we're not going to expect anything from you because we don't know what to think. It changes every day.
Yeah.
Every day there's some other example that the Trump administration doesn't know what the hell it's doing.
Yeah. So
sorry. I mean, he's only just come to the realization that Putin lies to him.
Right.
I mean,
well,
Jesus.
According to Maggie Haberman, the whole switch about this has been something that has been growing. Like Trump is allegedly waking up, however slowly, to the idea that Putin is pulling his chain and has been for quite some time. And I don't know if she means years or since, last November or something, when he believed this idea that they were going to have, they were going to be able to solve this in a phone call. That Trump may have been led to believe this directly by Putin. Like, yeah, tell people this. I'll shut it down as soon as you get elected, buddy. And you'll get the Nobel Prize and I'll get this chunk of land and then you'll help me by undercutting them and then we'll both destroy NATO together or some shit. And it seems to be increasingly that what we thought was sort of an unspoken understanding between him and Putin was a spoken one. And that breakdown has been very specific. Like that has been his awareness, however slow in making this realization, is happening as dense as he is.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's saying these things in public, which means he is in some ways committing to them.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about his mystique is that he is always right, and he's infallible, and he is the master. He's the master of the art of the deal, right? His whole mythos is on the line now that he said this publicly. But again, I also think it's entirely possible that in a week or two, or whatever, it could maybe 6 months from now, who knows,
right,
whatever,
right,
that he'll come around to some other mentality and he'll blame Zelensky, and I am concerned that he's going to get to a place where he just goes, what, this whole thing is a mashugana, it's a mess. And I'm walking away. I'm walking.
Right.
These guys. It's their
fault. I feel like he already has. He's gone through. We've seen him go through this motion. So for those that don't know, I think this is a full clip of Trump saying this. Let me show you something real quick, if I may. This is.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this is him at this cabinet meeting.
Everybody wants to buy our equipment, and that's why we're going to step up these contractors now that make it, and they're brilliant, but they make it too slowly. And we have to step them up, Pete, and let them make it at a much higher rate. Unfortunately, we have to do that. But if you look at our Patriots, if you look at our Tomahawks, if you look at our, what we do with tanks is, you wouldn't want to be driving a tank. You would feel nice and secure. But they are javelins, they're called. And I gave them the javelins. Remember they said Trump gave the javelins and Obama gave them sheets, right? They called Obama at that time. Barack Hussein Obama, if you haven't heard, did a terrible job. But that was a war that should have never happened, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of thrown at us by Putin for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless. Everybody wants.
That was the take yesterday. That's what he said, which really painted a picture that he's getting, as dunderheaded as Trump is, he's getting fed up with this idea. And I gotta say, it feels increasingly like Putin made him a promise instead of him we've always just assumed that it was his ego that that pushed this. That Trump thought, oh, I can do this because I'm me, and he just believing his own hype. But I think increasingly it looks like they had in his mind a deal, and Putin is breaking the deal.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to have to be an autopsy on that relationship when Trump shuffles off the stage. Whether off the political stage or shuffles off this moral coil, because there's a lot of weirdness in that relationship.
Agreed.
And I mean, we know that they were involved in the 2016 election, the Russians, of course, that ushered him into office and put him on this stage. And he's got to know that too, because I'm sure Putin at some point told him, or if not Putin, then Lavrov or the ambassador or what have you. But I don't know. I think there may have already been stages of their relationship where they've gone through different, power dynamics. Because once you are the president of the United States, you wield enormous power.
Yep.
So maybe that changed Trump and made Trump change his relationship with Putin, and it's gone back and forth and whatever. I don't know, but there's a lot of weirdness there. And now I think maybe we are getting into a new phase of their relationship because, again, he's saying this stuff publicly. I'm still not happy about the language that Trump, as an aside,
sure.
I think it's an indication of his senility coming.
Well, there is still no
right.
When my dad had Alzheimer's, one of the first things he was not he was very careful with his language, and one of the first indications that he was losing it was he started swearing a lot more and saying inappropriate stuff.
Right.
And so that's not me as an expertise on President Trump or whatever, or mental well-being. It's just an observation.
Well, it also could just be that
bullshit from Putin.
Right. Well, and also his ego. He is surrounded at all times by people who inflate his ego and make him, think he's king of the world. And so if he wants to use frank language, and he also thinks that frank language is one of the reasons why he ended up in the position he's in, is that he says what we really feel and all that kind of stuff. So the occasional swearing gets him a lot of credit from the burgeoning right. Now, oddly enough, I think they wince at it. I think even the Charlie Kirks of the world who are trying to, run this kind of neo-Christic trad wife shit in their homes, they wince a little bit when he swears because he's the leader of the free world and he should be more dignified than that or whatever. But it's a breath of fresh air is what they have to sell to everybody. Let me, I think this is another clip of him talking about, Putin, and then Putin struck Ukraine right after this. This is, I think, this part.
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people.
President Trump is putting Russian President Vladimir Putin on blast. This time, the president sounding off during a cabinet meeting at the White House.
We get a lot of thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
President Trump is upset over...
So this is, let's see, I don't know if they go back to it. This is the Pentagon spokesperson. At President Trump's direction, the Department of Defense is sending additional defensive weapons to Ukraine to ensure the Ukrainians can defend themselves while we work to secure a lasting peace and ensure the killing stops. The realization he seems to have had to come to is that I guess is that Trump has been that Putin's been dragging him by his nose, and maybe he's just now waking up to that. Maybe he feels like he's in a financial position where he doesn't need, Putin's support anymore because of his crypto or whatever else, that his bills are paid for the first time in his life. And so his buddy relationship, which he thought was on even footing, is now, he still feels like he's subservient to this guy?
Possibly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff happening. Obviously, I mean, we're getting this onslaught of drones and missiles.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting information that the Russians are getting to a place where it's expected by the end of summer, beginning of fall, that they'll have the capacity to be doing like 1,000, drones a day, getting sent over, drones and missiles, ordnance. That it's going to be a regular occurrence that we're going to get about 1,000 things chucked at us on a daily basis. So we need as much air defense as we can possibly get. And the Patriot is a very good system. I've seen it at work here in Kiev. But you don't shoot down Shahed drones with Patriots. So there's a whole package of things that the Ukrainians need to defend their skies. You shoot down the ballistic missiles with the Patriots, and that is a good thing because those warheads are big and they're really damaging. So we need all sorts of stuff. We need stuff from Europe. And look, and if America wants to go transactional and sell stuff, then I still believe the possibility that a third or a fourth nation state that liquidates Russian holdings and gives it to Ukraine.
Absolutely.
They're going because the Canadians have done it, and I think the Danes have done it so far. They've gone into seized oligarch assets, and then liquidated it or directly sent it here to Ukraine. So there is a source of funds that the Ukrainians could be given by the Europeans. I mean, it's a kind of a roundabout way of doing this, but if that's the way Trump demands that he can do this and look good because here I am, I've mastered this great deal, and we're look at all this money we're making from the Ukrainians, as opposed to just giving them weapons, which is really what we should be doing. But so there's that possibility that we start that America starts selling weapons to Ukraine. Ukrainians would do it. There's the bill that I know Trump also mentioned, the sanctions bill that's being put up by Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal, which would be a good thing. Would be a good thing. I mean, it's actually kind of long overdue. Hit their shadow fleet. There's been a lot of interesting stories about the shadow fleet recently. A bunch of them have been hit mysteriously. And Russia's economy is clearly showing signs of really heavy stress. And they've got an offensive going on, but folks are skeptical even on their side. You've got people falling out of windows in Moscow. You have so people getting arrested for corruption. Things are not good in Russia right now.
Yeah, so talk about that for 1 second, because I don't know that people are caught up on that. Because
now's the time you got to keep the strain on,
right?
And maybe it forces Putin to the table. Putin's the one that needs to come to the table. Yeah. Zelensky and the Ukrainians are ready to negotiate.
Let's discuss.
And have been for a while, with certain conditions.
Let's discuss that for a second too, because I don't think people know about we know that oligarchs have a history of dying from cement poisoning or deceleration trauma when they're around a third story window when Putin turns on them. But this last week, there have been a particularly high number and of like well-known upper crust Russians either being arrested or dying at a volume that hasn't been seen before. Like we've seen them spattering over the last few years. But yeah.
Well, it the first thing we should recognize is that everybody in Russia is corrupt. Okay,
right.
So when somebody is arrested and charged with corruption, it is a political decision,
right?
Because everybody's corrupt. There's not the system itself. You don't operate in that system.
It's about selective prosecution for political control.
So it's not so much that, hey, we found a guy who's corrupt, so much as this guy has done something we don't like, and so we're going to purge him. And since everybody's corrupt, we will just pick whatever corruption he's been engaged in. So that's first and foremost. Those are political arrests. Those are not legal. It's not enforcing the law. The other thing about it, is that there are those who are looking at these things and saying it looks like a purge of guys that would challenge the intelligence services. This might be a consolidation of power by the FSB, which is, former Putin was the head of the FSB, the inheritor of the KGB, and then before that, of course, he was a KGB agent in the Soviet Union. But it could be, and he rose to power through the intelligence and security services, and to a lesser extent the military, but really the intelligence and the security services were what propelled him to power in collaboration with some other elements. What he used to call is kind of the pillars that propped him up were referred to as the Siliviki, the strong ones. And it consisted of a lot of different things, but primarily amongst them was the intelligence community. And as I say, the security apparatus. They don't get along with the military. Putin's relationship with the military has always been pretty fraught with tension. It could be that he is clearing house. He's also had some love-hate relationships with the oligarchy. When he rocked up into power, he whipped them into shape, but he's had his arguments, and look at what Prigozhin did, so the uprising by Yevgeny Prigozhin, he doesn't want a repeat of that. He's clearly under some serious strain. Maybe Trump sees this. I mean, he may not read his daily briefing, but I would not be terribly surprised if Marco Rubio had said to him, Marco Rubio, who has always been a hawk when it comes to Russia, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if he had pulled Trump aside and said to him, these guys are screwed.
Yeah.
And if we keep the heat on them, they will come to the table.
Right.
They'll have no choice.
If you back off, they won't. They have no reason to.
Oh, they'll never.
Yeah. So, according to CNN's reporting, both Keith Kellogg, who is the special envoy to Ukraine, Russia, and Marco Rubio, and Trump, nobody in the White House, knew that Hegseth had stopped arms supplies to Ukraine, had halted them. And this is the second time this year that has happened, that Hegseth turned off the arms shipments, and then when the White House, or it became publicly known, when the White House found out, they started them up again. And then the same thing just happened again. And so the question is Hegseth on the take in this situation? Is he the whipping boy that's thrown to the wolves on this, that they're using him as an excuse, or as a scapegoat for stuff that Trump's trying to do under cover of night? Now we know that he withheld javelins back in the day because he was trying to get them to do an investigation into Joe Biden, and then he ultimately had to release them, and he tried to make it about other stuff. It could be another version of that, but I mean, the fact that Kellogg and Marco Rubio didn't know about it, allegedly, again, this is CNN's reporting, that it seems to be 100% Pete Hegseth's call, and Pete Hegseth isn't making any calls these days. One of the weird things about Pete Hegseth right now is that after the Signalgate thing, the reports out of the Pentagon are that he's afraid to make any decisions at all, that he's become effectively paralyzed. And so he's either taking the advice of some people around him who are reading the tea leaves of what Trump wants and just saying, yeah, do that. Or somebody's making a phone call to him and saying, do this. And it might not even be within the White House or the Pentagon. That's the sketchy part. Like, if he's getting, who knows what he's on the hook for?
Well, I mean, his entire cabinet is just littered with people who have very suspicious ties,
right,
to the Kremlin. And so, yeah, absolutely. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. Look at this guy Gore that everybody's Sergei Gore.
Yeah, Sergei Gore.
Who's born in Uzbekistan
born in Russia, pretended to be born in Malta or whatever it was. Yeah.
I think it was Soviet. I think it was Tashkent. He was born in, which is a Soviet, Uzbekistan, Soviet Republic of. He was a citizen of the USSR, and then he decided to say Malta, but the truth is out.
Yeah.
So there's that guy. I mean, Hegseth himself even parrots the talking points.
Yeah.
So look, it's one of the reasons why a lot of people are very suspicious of just how much influence the Kremlin has over the Trump administration, and rightfully so. It's not just Russia, Russia, Russia. I just despise that meme so much because it is so just loosely dismissive of a very real concern that we should all have.
Right.
And he, for better or worse, he's good at marketing. That whole Russia thing.
Well, I would go with Epstein in that particular case. Well, now this goes to, let me show you real quick too. This is Maggie Haberman on CNN, and this is part of the news that got people talking about these elements in here. Let me see if I can bring this up. Oops, sorry, hold on. Whoops. There we go. Sorry. Well, let's flip us in. There we go.
Yeah, Caitlin Collins, thanks very much. Caitlin's going to be back at the top of the next hour anchoring The Source. Joining us right now are New York Times White House correspondent Maggie Haberman and former Trump White House Communications Director Alyssa Farr-Griffin. Maggie, is it clear to you when and why do you think the president has changed his tune on Vladimir Putin? Is this just the latest chapter in this relationship?
The only change in tune is the one you are hearing out loud, Anderson, and that's what he's saying in the moment today. But he has been building toward this for the last couple of weeks. Remember, he said, I think it was around Memorial Day weekend, that he was absolutely considering sanctions on Russia, new sanctions on Russia. He did not go ahead with those, and instead he continued to try to see if there was some other way to get Putin back to the table. It's clear that he has decided that there isn't, absent this sort of more public presentation. My sense is just as Caitlin's was, is that he wanted to say these things. He wanted to condemn Putin, but he condemned him much more fully than we've heard him do at any point in the last 10 years, and certainly than I expected him to do in a cabinet meeting today. Whether that just brings Putin back to the table, we'll see. But it's also important to remember, Anderson, this is happening right after the president said he was going to resume sending munitions to Ukraine. It is very clear that in suggesting that he might not continue to arm Ukraine, forget about the pause of the last 2 weeks, even prior to that, when the president has been a skeptic about aid to Ukraine, then you are leaving yourself with no leverage against Putin in trying to forge a deal here. He seems to have finally seen that.
So that was the turn, Phil, Maggie Haberman said. And she's, for whatever it's worth, she and Michael Wolff seem to be the insiders with the most direct scoop from Trump himself. Either his own ego makes him continue to talk to them because he's that stupid and just needs the attention. He really does want to be on the real networks. No matter what people tell him about being on Rogan and Theo Vaughn, Trump is a boomer and he wants to be on CNN and ABC and he wants 60 Minutes to do a puff piece on him and he wants the Nobel Prize. Like every victory.
The cover of Time magazine.
That's right. It's all old school with him and none of it will ever make up for it. No matter, you can show him how many clicks a show gets. You can, have him go to some Turning Points thing and sit there with Alex Jones or whoever, and it won't matter. It's about ratings, which only happen in networks, and it's about real legit media that he views as honestly there. So he keeps talking to Michael Wolff, and the people around him do, and he keeps talking to Maggie Haberman, even after calling her Maggot Haberman and going after her. She's still, and it turns out that, a lot of what she's saying about him is curiously true. It does play out. You can check her work against what he's done or said, and it lines up.
I don't think he's talking to Bob Woodward anymore.
Nope. I agree.
Yeah, he used to have that. He used to have that same sort of attitude.
Same fixation, right? Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Caitlin Collins, interestingly enough, as much as he craps on CNN, I honestly, it's this crass. I think he finds her attractive and can't not have her on the plane and can't not have her asking him questions, because I have glamorous women on networks asking me questions. Like, it's as stupid as that. And if it works, who gives a shit? If that's the angle that works with this moron, fine, right? We can go back to the Amy Goodmans of the world being able to ask questions of real world leaders, after this is all over. But if that's what it requires for access, God bless her, Caitlin Collins, for dealing with his breath and asking these questions. But it is a shift. It does seem to be something that's actually happening.
Something's going on.
Yep.
Yeah, something's going on. I mean, Zelensky said, because then after he spoke to Putin, he called Zelensky, and Zelensky came off that phone call and said it was the best interaction he has had with Trump.
Yes, right.
So now Zelensky's in Rome today, met with Pope Leo. Pope Leo has been saying some very interesting things about the conflict. He's been far less, both sides to the previous Pope was. So Zelensky, and I guess that Kellogg is in Rome with Zelensky and the Pope. So there's some interaction going on there. I mean, we'll see. I honestly don't know.
Right. None of us are holding our breath in this regard. Right.
No.
But it does seem to be
some extra Patriot missiles or a new Patriot system. Fine.
Apparently, and the word around, after all the Signalgate shit with Pete Hegseth, the word going around is that this, for the second time, stopping weapons shipments to Ukraine without telling the White House. Now, it may be that Trump doesn't give a shit about Ukraine and does want, favor with Moscow, but it does take, for some dude who allegedly believes in the art of the deal and his own skills as a deal maker, it does take tools away from him. It does take away his ability to negotiate if you take those arms away without telling him. I don't know if you heard that last bit, because I know you had to swap out your headphones. Did you hear what I was saying?
The headphones, they were losing power, more or less. I mean, the fact that this was happening without, the narrative.
Right. So the idea is that Hegseth, after Signalgate, he managed to dodge that bullet. He's been operating without effectively a substructure at the Pentagon. He's got no chief of staff. He's got no deputy chief of staff. He's lost a bunch of these dudes that he had to broom. And so he's already been on thin ice and is losing favor with Trump because he embarrassed him a couple of times. But he thought that ship had sailed and he was okay. But there were two elements where, under normal circumstances, we think that Trump favors Russia so much that he may not have cared or believed that he was in on it. But there's a real issue here where Hegseth took one of the bargaining chips off the table without consulting Trump, or thinking he was doing him a favor, or was doing it under the table because he misread the wink or the nod. But that made it harder for Trump to pressure Putin to get him to the table. If we're just taking these weapons away from Ukraine, especially defensive weapons, then Russia's going to take this as an opportunity to hit Ukraine like crazy until such time as, we either resupply them, which he thought maybe wouldn't happen, right? Or just during that period, it's a good time where they're just unable to, defend themselves. Kind of like, when Israel's Iron Dome was running short of missiles. And so Trump was using that as, leverage against them to stop the 12-day war, allegedly, which is, by the way, apocryphal and bullshit. But that theory that he's been putting out there, that mythology about being the deal maker, Hegseth removed those, those chips from the table without saying anything. So if you're Putin, why would you give a shit? Why wouldn't you just bomb the place?
I hate to pat myself too firmly on the back for this one, but I told you so. I mean, I've been saying this since the beginning of the war. We can't stop the Ukrainians from fighting, from defending themselves. They're going to do that no matter what. They are never going to bend the knee to Moscow again. So then the only question is, how many more Ukrainians are we going to watch die before we decide to do the right thing and properly arm them? Right. Defensive weapons and offensive weapons, to help them win this war. And the problem that Donald Trump has is that he's not, again, the man knows marketing, right? Okay. Yeah. So he knows that having video out there of kids crying in the street because their mommy is dead because America has stopped supplying air defense. At some point, the American people are going to say, well, what the fuck? Right. These people are getting shellacked for no good reason other than Russia wants to recolonize them. Yeah. And beat them down. But it's how long can they sit on the sidelines and watch? And that's what I think they're in a bit of a pickle. I think they're in a bit of a bind because of it. Because if I think they would love to walk away. I think they would love to go, and by the way, let's lift the sanctions so that we can start getting that, sweet oil or, whatever else they want, financially from Russia, rare earth minerals or whatever the hell else. But the problem with that is that public opinion in America, I firmly believe that aside from, some of the lunatics who are pro-Moscow types, generally Americans are not going to like knowing that Ukrainians are going to die in large numbers, right? Because of our betrayal. And Ukrainians are, I say this, by and large, Ukrainians are still more than capable and more than they have the strength of will to continue to resist Russia for a much longer period of time. They're not anywhere near exhausted they're exhausted of the war. I'm exhausted of the war. Again, I haven't slept. I have not had a full night's sleep in over a week because of these nightly attacks. But I interviewed somebody today for our next week's program, and she said to me, it's not an alternative. It is better to die under. She said to me, and I'm roughly paraphrasing, it's better to die under Russian bombs than to live under Russian occupation. That attitude is because they know who the Russians are. If anybody on this planet knows what it's like to live under Moscow's thumb, it's the Ukrainians. And they're just not going to stop resisting.
Agreed.
So our choice is how much do we sit by and watch passively.
Well, and to your point about oil prices and Russian oil and that kind of stuff getting into the market, there is Trump is again in between a rock and a hard place in terms of oil prices. In that Russia's window of profitability for oil is anything between maybe $55 and $65 a barrel. That's the minimum. America, for us to do oil and exploration, we need it somewhere between $65 and $75 a barrel. That's the sweet spot for how much oil should cost so that American oil companies can take profit and pay dividends and all that other stuff, but also be able to explore and drill so they can expand how much is going through. Now, again, that's that window is very delicate, right? If it drops well below it, they're not going to do any drilling. They're just going to, they might even have to slow production to try and, to reinflate the price. If it goes way higher than that, demand goes down, and that, it becomes the entire market, the world market for oil becomes so tight because of the expense of it that it doesn't spread evenly. So OPEC will increase production, and they'll fight to keep this price in this window. So right now it's $67.29. It's fairly close to the sweet spot of $70 a barrel for the U.S. drill baby drill thing that Trump wants to do. It's a little short of it, but it's close. If oil was just to open up like crazy, if Russia was able to come back into the market again, if Iran was able to have full access to the world, the price would go to 50, maybe 45, lower. And that means that's the end of drill baby drill. That's back to the beginning of the relying on the Middle East and Russia for oil supplies and being over, no pun intended, over a barrel because of that. So,
and the European market, you're right. You're right. I think the whole concept of like the West is gagging at chomping at the bit to reopen the Russian market is really well overstated, especially in the European market, as I say, because the Europeans have woken up to the threat from Vladimir Putin, and they're not going back. They know that this guy is bad news, and him getting dominion over Europe. And that's not, again, I want to reiterate, all this talk of like Russia won't stop at Ukraine. That's true. But they don't have to roll tanks down the Champs-Élysées, or they don't have to have fighter bombers stationed, at some airfield outside of London to exert their military influence. They can just threaten. And markets will change, and they will flood the zone with the corruption and the undue influence that they will be able to exert if they are successful here in Ukraine will mean really bad news for London and Paris and Berlin and all the rest of it. So it's not just militarily; it's the fact that they would have dominion over Europe, and the Europeans are well aware of it now, and with America now not being as reliable, they recognize, oh shit, this really would be bad. So I don't think they're going to return to, even if the sanctions were lifted, if America unilaterally lifted the sanctions, doesn't mean that the Europeans would as well.
No,
it's
and they won't. I don't think the U.S. I also don't think the U.S. will do it without the Europeans joining us. Like, it would have to, if he can't convince the Europeans to do the exact same thing. Yeah,
now, I think the Graham Blumenthal bill is going to pass.
Agreed.
And that's going to really, really hurt Russia, because anybody who engages in a clandestine sale of any kind of fossil fuel, natural gas, or whatever, is going to be facing subsequent sanctions from the United States. A 500% sanction. India and China will go, whoa, fuck it, not worth it. Certainly the Indians are going to say, not worth it. I suspect the Chinese will do the same thing. But again, but the Chinese have their own set of issues and problems between Beijing and Moscow and all the rest of it. So
Yeah,
it gets very complicated. But I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah, I've said, by the way, that if it'll be a miracle if Xi Jinping is still in power by September, if not by the end of the year, that there is that like Zhang Youxia and Wang Yang, the two kind of guys jockeying for position to control the country after Xi is happening. There's been talk on the ground that Xi Jinping's wife is negotiating his exit from the country to Kazakhstan, and that she hasn't been with him on a bunch of trips so that they can basically set up an escape route for him once it's over, because they know it's not going to be pretty no matter what happens. And depending on whether it's a military or a simple transition to a new party secretary, both of them, secretary to chairman, both of them will be ugly, and the chances of an uprising in China are very high, especially in certain provinces, not the least of which, is, Xinjiang and those areas. Once the power play starts happening, how many, weapons and control and the security state, like the funds and the equipment that the security state uses to control the populace in those areas will, might have gaps in it or collapse. That's going to be gnarly. Right now, and again, there was some talk at one point about like Putin having an exit to China at one point. I mean, when she's looking for an exit, that's not happening. Never would.
Well, Putin is not going to go into exile.
No,
he's going to die. They'll kill him.
I agree. Or they'll fake his death, and he'll live secretly someplace else. Would be he and Epstein will move to Little St. James or Little St. John Island. Right. This is the other thing I wanted to show you here, and this is in CNN talking about this, and this is the point we were talking about with Hegseth.
Of the U.S. weapon stockpile, obviously multiple ongoing conflicts around the world. Trump wanted to make sure that there were enough U.S. weapons to provide support across the board. But Hegseth, at the recommendation of some of his top officials at the Department of Defense, ultimately conducted that review and also paused arms shipments to Ukraine as a result. That's not something that the president directed Hegseth to do, and it's something that caused frustration at all corners of the Trump administration. Now, we asked the White House and the Department of Defense for comment. A spokesperson for the Pentagon said, quote, Secretary Hegseth provided a framework for the president to evaluate military aid shipments and assess existing stockpiles. This effort was coordinated across the government. Obviously, that doesn't address, though, this decision of to pause the arms shipments to Ukraine. And again, one that Trump is
Yeah, that was a very Pam Bondi answer from them, which was, it really stood out. Like this, he provided a framework for what kind of arms and stuff. That's very different from him, getting, that he didn't say Trump told him then to pause, shipments to this country, that country, which is what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to, and the president has to go on record of doing that. So he can't throw the president under the bus and say he did tell me to do it, which he clearly cannot say, for what, either because Trump didn't or because Trump wants to keep it a secret, and Hegseth has just been told to bite the bullet on this one. But either way, it's very much like the Epstein cover-up shit, where it just sounds like they're using lawyer language everywhere they possibly can.
Yeah, they're being very precise in what they're saying,
right?
And that's not a mistake. I mean, that's they're I mean,
they're threading the needle.
Look, they're threading the needle, and if in the end this results in Ukraine getting more support and weaponry, okay, but I just don't trust it. I don't trust him. I think he is. I think he flies off on these whims, and
Trump or Hegseth or both.
Trump.
Right.
Well, or both. I mean, well, and the other thing about Hegseth that I'm hearing from my contacts in the U.S. military is, or guys who are veterans, is that there is some conversation being had that like the Pentagon really fucking hates him.
Right.
I mean, your rank and file soldiers hate Hegseth because in way over his head, and doesn't know.
Well, he jumped to the front of the line. He's acting like he's a fucking Marine.
Yeah.
He came from Fox and Friends. He's subverting the leadership. Like there are generals that were in line for promotion, and he's undercutting them. Now, part of that is Trump's order, but Trump's not going to be blamed for it directly, right?
No, and he's incompetent, and everybody knows it. And so there is, and I don't know how much credence I give to it, but I have heard this being discussed. Is this could be an internal, beheading of the SecDef by the rank and file, which would not surprise me at all.
Not at all. And Trump will, in his wanting to suck up to soldiers and appear to be on the side of cops and firefighters and all that kind of stuff, which he prides himself on. If there's a groundswell of those guys saying Hegseth has to go, or if Lindsey Graham comes to him and says the rank and file military think Hegseth is bad, that would be enough to get rid of him. Even if Trump likes his loyalty, there are other dudes lining up who want to be SecDef. Holy shit! Like even beyond this, especially the sicker and lamer Trump gets, the more they're like, oh shit, okay, well I could be SecDef when Vance takes over and ride this out for a while and reposition myself to not just be a follower in this situation, but a true leader and be seen as the guy who, bucked the dumber policies of this as they normalize. I'm going to show you something real quick too, and this is kind of in line with what you and I see. This is Solovyev. Let's see if I can show you this.
Did I lose you?
No.
Атакует БРИКС Трамп. Трамп заявляет, БРИКС создан, чтобы подорвать...
Oh, yeah, sorry. So BRICS, this is Solovyev saying BRICS was created to undermine the U.S. dollar.
Доллар сделал все, чтобы подорвать сам себя.
Stop imposing sanctions. Stop restricting the circulation of the dollar. You started to use the dollar as a weapon. Therefore, you got warfare in response. So, by their way of thinking, like, what he seems to be saying here is that because Trump wants the dollar to be strong and he's anti-BRICS, that's why Putin is doubling down in this situation. It's a total play on the circumstance. I mean, it would be fucked to think that. But I'm always curious if Trump heard this, what his response would be. Like, the Sean Hannity of Russia said, who is on state TV, Russian state TV said this on behalf of Putin. What was he? He goes, now Trump says, he goes, we only have 60% of the global economy. China has more. And as far as the military-industrial potential, you should compare who has more, Russia or the U.S. Trump is like, we are preparing something. Russians should not do this or that. Trump is getting totally carried away. He's having a hard time. He thought he would show up and everyone would collapse. Yo, Donald, we've been waiting for you. But everyone said, so? Look, is this normal in a democratic country? Are you still... Look what they're playing. The clip of him saying, are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
This guy's been talked about for years.
He's translating into Russian what Trump said.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Невозможно.
You want to waste the time and
Вы хотите терять ваше время? Может, прокомментировать, сказать? Не, я не хочу терять мое время. Да хватит уже на эту тему говорить насчет этого Эпштейна. Ага, класс.
Uh-huh, class.
И тут, значит, все говорят, минуточку.
And everyone says, hold on a minute. What do you mean it's enough? You've been talking about him all the time. You've been saying the whole deep state is mixed up in it. All sorts of people are involved. Whoops. Did I lose Phil temporarily? I'm playing this? Is he... whoops. Does that happen when I play Russian? He just vanishes? Phil. We lost Phil. Hold on a second. Did I... maybe... I don't think I'm offline. let's see. Go back to here. Me solo link. Chat room. Let's see if this is in here. See if I've dropped off for some reason. I think you guys are in here. Yeah. Yeah, it was really fuck with that. Okay, there you go. Phil, come back, Phil, if you can. We got 10 minutes. It may just be internet there as well. Yep. We'll check in with him real quick. Yeah. Let's see. Can we check in with Phil? Just to see if he can come back on. It may be internet where he is. So in that instance, let me show you guys also what else. I'll play the rest of this because Phil's probably aware of what Soloviev said, and we can pick it up when he jumps back in. Gut willing. He goes, you've been saying he couldn't have taken his own life, but now you're saying, forget all about it. Wow, that's cool. What's next? What will happen next? So he goes, yeah. Meanwhile, they say, we delivered 10 Patriot missiles. We will surprise the Russians. What can you surprise us with? French said, we'll stand with Ukraine until the end. We should smash the hell out of France. Do you really think that for me, the lives of freaking French are more valuable than the lives of guys in Kursk or Belgorod region or Tula or Orlov or Bryansk regions? I would say we got way too relaxed. Yeah. Let me remind you what Trump said, why Trump said it, and what he said about it in general. Who is Trump? He is exceptionally inventive. The audio from 2024 was published. Pool number 3 is reminding us of that. He goes, this is from the audio that CNN played. At a fundraiser with Putin, I said, if you go into Ukraine, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. I'm telling you, I have no choice. So he goes like, I don't believe you. He said, no way. And I said, way. We saw this shit. He said, oh, there's Phil back. Excellent. Okay, hold on one second. I will bring Phil back in. There we go. Yeah, there you are. Welcome back. We lost you for a second.
Yep. Don't know if that was on my end or your end.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell. But in that Soloviev clip I was playing, he's playing this bullshit from Trump in 2024 during the campaign, saying I was going to bomb the shit out of Moscow, and he said, "No way," and I said, "Way." We saw this a bunch of times. It's like totally stupid talk.
That's
yeah,
bullshit.
It again, but they're bringing it up in response to the Epstein thing, and in response to Trump's possible sanctions on him as an excuse as to why they would feel, why they can at least bluster about, either nuclear attack or regular attack, conventional attack on America's allies or America itself and those kind of things. I mean, he talks this shit all the time, Soloviev, but this is why world leaders tend not to talk like this, so that people can't come back later and go, well, he said if he got elected, he would fuck us up. So we're just defending ourselves. And he just seemed like Trump seems incapable of grasping that people can use it as an excuse to kill our soldiers and other people if you talk like that. And it muddies the waters.
Who leaked it and why?
Well, this was from a fundraiser, right? This was from a fundraiser, but Trump said this shit on the campaign trail a couple of times. It's not even, the bombing part, was just like, you could tell he starts ratcheting up the lie. After a while, he gets bored with his own bullshit.
Right.
So
yeah, he's got a pattern. This is a pattern with him,
right?
But you're right. It was a stupid thing to say. It was more likely than not a bunch of BS because Putin would not engage in that kind of crap.
No.
Putin would just be like, okay, Donald, whatever,
Yeah.
So it's BS, but it's damaging BS. And I question every time there is a leak, always question who leaked it and why.
Sure.
There's always a reason. So who has done this, and to what end? I don't know, but you're right. The fact that Soloviev is on state television saying this, they will use it, and the Z, the pro-Putin militant fascist arm of Russia, which is a huge part of their population because they've been under intense brainwashing for going on a quarter of a century now, and they have their default setting of the imperial mindset. So this will justify for a lot of people more support for Russia and for Putin and for the armed forces and to continue the war, because they will say, well, look, the Americans are these bloodthirsty guys who are going to threaten to bomb Moscow if they don't get what they want, which plays exactly into the narrative of America, big bad, hater of Russia and our primary enemy. So we must continue to fight in Ukraine because the poor Ukrainians have been seduced away by the Americans, and this is an existential threat. And so, even as the the belt tightens and the economy gets worse and worse, they're going to be more likely to suffer through it because of Trump saying stupid shit like that. So it's just not good news. It's counterproductive. It's going to mean more Ukrainians are going to die, and it's going to make any kind of negotiation harder.
Right.
It's just they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're totally out of their. Witkoff is an estate developer, for Christ's sakes.
Right.
He's not even a Russia expert.
Right.
We need professionals. We need.
Well, this comes from the Kushner, the Jared Kushner stuff from the last one, because Kushner's a real estate guy as well, and they had put this. You could argue that the Abraham Accords and how they were handled, the language about how they were handled, how the discussions that went on about the Palestinian territories in Gaza and the West Bank and all that kind of stuff under Kushner is what led us to this idea that it's all just a land deal, that we can just all split this and get rich building condos. And so this talk about sacred sites and Palestinian territories and all this kind of stuff, the reason he brought in Witkoff is because Witkoff seems to be under the same delusion that everything is transactional and everything is about real estate. That it really is that it's about the view. It's not even about good farmland or waterways or natural resources. Maybe there's something about rare earth minerals anywhere that you can't build a place that has a view of a lake. But everywhere else, it's about beachfront property or lakefront property or mountain property, right? Skiing property. Like, that's how they think about shit. That's what Witkoff thinks. That's what Trump thinks. That's what Kushner thinks. And they think that they think the Abraham Accords were a win in the first term, even though they triggered October 7th. Sinwar said specifically that Trump's decision to move the embassy and declare the Golan Heights part of Israel and declare, moving the embassy to Jerusalem specifically was his idea. Like, okay, now we need to hide our strength and bide our time and plan an attack because it's coming. They were under the assumption that this is proof that Trump, as he continues, because in their part of the world, people stay in power for a long time, Saddam Hussein style, that Trump was joking about staying in past his terms. And these guys are like, this is it. Here it comes. Israel and the United States are going to mow us down and move us out of the way if Trump has his way. Now, he lost, and they went through with it anyways, and because they figured like the conversation about Biden and Trump being no different, where they bought into that somehow, which is ridiculous. But when Trump got back in, that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what he's been talking about. Everything that they said that they were worried about happening in terms of the trigger for October 7th and why they decided they needed to do that. And this is not justifying it at all. It was wrong. October 7th was not only grotesquely immoral and civilian-based violence, but it was also tactically stupid, unless your goal was to get a bunch of your people killed so you could use them as a predicate for gaining power, which is a possibility, but it didn't work out very well. It's the same thing, same stupid fucking argument about Afghanistan, that Putin saw us leaving Afghanistan and thought, what a perfect time to attack Ukraine. Turned out not to be the case, and 1 million dead or wounded later. It was a terrible decision. It was the single worst tactical decision of the last century. But
yeah, and if they really do think that all things are based on kind of property laws and this transactional
oh my God.
concept, they should really look into Russian property laws.
Right.
You can't own property in Russia.
Right.
All
you
land
lease
is
it
owned
from the
by
state, right? Yeah.
You lease it from the Kremlin ultimately. Because the Tsar is the Tsar. You don't buy property. And that is a big part of kind of the Russian worldview is that all things are owned by the state, that the state is the ultimate and the most important factor in any nation. And, so these guys are completely out of their depth when it comes to negotiating with the Russians. And it's just, sadly, it means that this war is going to drag on and drag on and drag on because the Ukrainians are not going to stop fighting. The only way we get to a more rapid conclusion of this war is to just give the Ukrainians everything they need.
Right.
All those thousands and thousands of Bradleys sitting out there mothballed in New Mexico or Arizona or wherever the hell they are. Get them on boats. Ship them on over. If you really want this idea that like America will fight to the last Ukrainian is BS. And the idea that there's going to be any kind of successful negotiated ceasefire and eventual peace is also highly unlikely until Putin is convinced that he cannot benefit from this conflict.
Which
and
is
in
why
order to do that, we need to arm the Ukrainians.
Right. And which is why Hegseth removing those weapons without telling Trump or whatever, removing that negotiating point might actually result in some sort of change in the leadership. And of course, at a time when Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal's bill is working its way through, and it might, interestingly enough, as Trump is currently pissed at Putin, means that sanction thing will pass the Senate fairly easily and get carried out. He doesn't, unlike a regular act, I don't think it doesn't have to bounce back and forth to the House and the Senate. The Senate can they can outright pass sanctions on their own.
And then send it to the Resolute desk. He signs it. Boom.
Yep, that's it. Right. I appreciate you being on here. On the Edge, you have a new episode this Sunday.
This Sunday, we're going to talk to an artist from Crimea.
Great. And then we're gonna do our best to have that live event in Chicago this weekend to get you on the air with us as well, live in that circumstance. So fingers crossed it should work out. That's Saturday, regular Saturday show time.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
great.
I will keep you updated on like how we will do it as far as getting you on there. It may be this way. It may be through this normal setup. I'm going to talk to them tomorrow, or it may be through their call-in setup. So we'll work on that. But I appreciate you, brother. Be well.
Right.
Maybe become
maybe we'll get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, hope so. Hope so, brother. All right. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon. Okay. All right. Cheers. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. There's Phil. And thank you guys as well. I'm going to jump off right now. We went a little bit long, but I'll be back on a little bit later. I may, because of dinner plans tonight, I'm at my dad's house. I may end up just like hopping off for like a couple hours and then coming back on. I'm going to be on Patty Vasquez's show at 6:15 my time here. So I think like 4 to 6 window here would probably be good. East Coast time. And then I can be off the air and then be able to call into her show, without much overlap and that kind of thing. So that's more than likely what I'm going to end up doing, depending on if we're going to go see puppies later, which is a possibility. That's true. My dad's dog is a grandfather, so we're going to go see his grandpups. And that's that. So I'm going to go check on the fam and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Jen, by the way. And Jen had a question. Why has nobody put the classified documents case together with this? He took that stuff in his first term. I think you meant that was during when we were talking about the Epstein stuff in the first hour. I would, or perhaps the Iranian stuff. I don't know what the timing of it was, Jen, because I didn't see it till after. But what I would say is the Iranian attack plan, which is what was carried out, was the exact same one. That he went to these guys. We've been practicing this for 15 years or something. Yeah, since Obama. While they were making the deal, part of the negotiation towards the Iranian deal was that we had a military answer if they didn't come to the table around this and during the Obama years. And so Trump taking credit for this beautifully planned thing, it was a plan that was literally designed over a decade ago, well before he was in office the first time. So, and the plan that he took may have been the original plan, and they had to rework it because that one was in the wind. He had shown it to people. Now, granted, if you're the Iranians and you know where your sites are, and you know with some, I don't know, some validity that the Americans are aware of the targeting points, you know which ones they're going to hit. But my argument is they've had 7 sites, and if we hit 3 of them, they still have the other ones left. And I would like to also point out this is going to be part of the story going forward as well. An Iranian cleric, a high-level cleric, said that they've raised, they're like crowdsourcing this assassination plot against Trump, and it's at $18 million right now. And the idea is that they would hit him with a drone at Mar-a-Lago. Now, could they do it is very much in question. I doubt it. But they could swarm the place with consumer drones and explosives and stuff in a plot, and it would just overwhelm the circumstance if they really put their mind to it. And that's a scary part of, of just modern warfare. And Trump is the first president to truly face that. So this exists. This is something that's happening right now. This is a real thing. How serious it is as far as them carrying it out is anybody's guess. But if you're Trump, you certainly don't expect people to, you're not going to take it for granted that they wouldn't do it. But how does this news lead us towards, or further away from Trump striking Iran again? Right? So, and again, the classified stuff that Trump may have taken with him, you have to understand, and I've said this multiple times, and that never underestimate Trump's ability to fuck up a free lunch. And it is very possible that he took a shit ton of classified documents that he thought would help him and still missed the good stuff. Still missed the stuff, right? That would actually, move the needle or give him control. Because other people might go, oh yeah, you have this, I have this, right? An American could do it and blame Iran. Yeah, how easy. That is exact. And the shooter in Butler apparently was seemingly inspired by Alex Jones's broadcast where he was saying, Trump is an imperfect candidate and nothing would make MAGA and the proof of MAGA, the power of MAGA come true faster than if he was assassinated and replaced with a better candidate. Now, at that time, I think that was before, when Alex Jones said that was before J.D. Vance had been chosen by Elon Musk, and they got a little hinky about that. But I don't think Alex Jones has a problem with Vance the way, say, Musk does. Trump has checked that. So anyways, much love to you guys. I will see you guys this in a couple of hours. So I'll be back on at about 4:00 my time, East Coast time. So sorry if it overlaps with anybody else's or the programming is at a different time. If that's an issue for you, feel free to watch it at another time. But if you're watching this at another time, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Great way to support the show. And of course, I don't have the Venmo up, but super chats and super thanks if you're watching this later is a great way to help the show. And make sure I can stay on the air as stuff continues to happen. Because truly, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, truly independent media.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
What?
I like wood. Deeper and longer.
Piece of malware called Q-Snatch.
Wow.
I had to beat off combat infantrymen. I know words. I have the best words. An anomalous, really an anomalous. Criminal. Look, wait. Obama. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges. The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges.
Deliberately, willful, and with total premeditation.
They throw lots of hard objects, and rarely does anything happen. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defied the seat of justice. It's defiled, right? See, I can't see it very well. The diversity lottery, and God bless the United States. Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. Made a pivotal, really. You know, we just sent another sock rocket. You saw that, right? To be a sanctuary. 10,000 known or suspected gang members. I know words. I have the best words. Would I approve waterboarding? Yesterday's a hard word for me. You know, I told the U.S. Marshals to go get the man who killed another man. Very large brain. Despite these obstacles, Karen,
I think I'm much more humble than you would understand.
They sacrifice every day for the furniture, future. I'm going to take such good care of women's health care issues, you won't even believe it.
Real bipartisan solutions.
No perverts. I know words. I have the best words.
What happened to the server? Where is the server? And what is the server saying? Where is the server? I really do want to see the server.
That was really